It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Well, welcome everyone to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. You know, what I try to do is try to keep you informed of what's happening, particularly in protecting yourself, protecting your families, and also don't get scammed. And the show today is going to be on how you are getting scammed. My guest, no stranger to the area, does a great job, Trooper Anthony Petroski, who is the Public Information Officer for the Pennsylvania State Police. I want to read something to you. The ARP in 2023. Now listen to this, my friends. ARP in 2023 calculated that Americans over 60 lose $28.3 billion each year to fraud. The Federal Trade Commission, seeking to account for unreported losses, estimate staggering $137 billion in 2022, including $48 billion from older adults. Trooper Petroski, interesting figures, aren't they?
You know, those numbers are too high.
My God.
That's not fair to people, and the target age over those people are 60 plus. Now, that's an age where if you're not retired, you're looking to retire, and you're looking to enjoy those years, not get scammed out of your life savings.
Yeah. You know, that's the interesting thing is, you know, why don't people just get a job and go out and earn their living? But it looks like to me that the numbers are either the same or they're rising. Okay, I would love to see a decrease. Shows like this where we're trying to bring information to the public, okay, to be aware of that.
Sure.
I don't think a day goes by in my home where I don't get 5 or 6, 7 calls a day, you know.
I think that's common for probably every American.
It's amazing, you know. And you said something to me, when you hear like a bloop, like a water drip,
yes,
you know it's a scam.
That's the telltale sign.
I just
right
hang
there.
up, okay.
Right.
But sometimes, even if you stay on and you go through their nonsense and you say, take me off the list, they don't take you off the list.
They don't, because there's no list. See, the list was years ago, right, when it was legitimate businesses calling you. And when you tell them, you know, hey, take me off the list or I'm going to contact the Better Business Bureau, that meant something because they were legitimate businesses. Now, these aren't legitimate businesses. These are just scammers. So there's no list. Our numbers will never be not out there.
And you know, it's funny because, you know, if you have ID, and sometimes you'll have names like, you know, people that you know.
Right.
And you know, you answer it and it's you know, a scam call. And
that's because these scammers, a lot of people think they're on the other end of a phone. They're not using a phone. They have a headset on. They're using a computer. That's how they're generating phone numbers for a specific area that they're calling. And it may be a legit phone number of somebody you have programmed in your cell phone. That's why it's coming up their name, but it's not. And so most of these cell phone companies now have spam features on it. So it might say potential spam.
Yeah,
don't answer. Yeah. That's great, don't answer it. But if it's a number that you have programmed in your phone, it's not going to say that. Yeah. So it might say your friend Joe Smith is calling. You answer and it's not Joe Smith. Yeah. It's a scammer. So we have to be aware that this is out there because it's happening every single day. And the sad part is, Sam, we don't know how to stop it because there's too many of these scammers. They're from different countries. Some are in our country. It's a tough, it's a tough
there's
situation.
no way of having them set up, you know,
right.
to trace the call. Is there a?
You know, here's why. Because they use spoof numbers. They're called. So they're calling from a computer. It's computer software that they use, and it will be a fake number. So to actually get a pinpoint address of where that call came from will take a lot. It's not easy. Not to say that law enforcement can't do these investigations, but I'm not going to lie, these investigations are extremely difficult for us. They are, especially if we're dealing with people outside of the country. They can become very difficult.
Rule of thumb, and we'll get into the specific scams, and also this thing about the cars, that's another interesting thing. A rule of thumb, okay, for the amount of education that's out there. You know, they prey on the older people because they're more sensitive, they're
more trusting.
They're more trusting,
yes.
And you know, particularly that one scam with the grandchildren. That's another interesting. That happened to me.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. So, what's the rule of thumb to prevent these scams from happening?
First off, the easiest way is if you don't know a number, don't answer it. Here's why. Scammers don't leave messages.
No.
They don't leave messages. And if it's somebody important, they'll leave a message. You can simply call them back. If you hear that little, sounds like a little water droplet falling into a sink. If you hear that, that's the scammers. That's a noise for the scammer to let them know that you just picked up the phone. As soon as you hear that, hang the phone up.
I do that all the time.
Don't think, well, you know, I'm just going to talk to this person. Hang the phone up. Don't entertain them. Okay? The more you talk to these people, the more susceptible you are to become a victim. Why? Because they're good talkers. They'll make hundreds of phone calls a day, and if they get one person to give money, that's a win for them. They're not paying taxes. They're not doing things the right way. So, you know, we can't entertain them. Hang the phone up. Don't answer.
$28.3 billion a year for people who are over 60 are being scammed.
People are just giving their money away, like the grandparent scam. People are putting money in an envelope and leaving it on their front porch in a mailbox for a courier to come and pick it up. And the thing is, people think that happens in other countries. No, it happens here. It happens in Pennsylvania. It does.
So how does that work? Because it happened to me.
Yeah. So a scammer will typically call someone and they'll say, you know, your grandson or granddaughter, and those are the magic words. Grandson or granddaughter, right? They'll say they're in a little bit of trouble, they got arrested, or they're hurt. You know, we could let them go, but we need a fee to be able to let them go to make sure that they'll show up to their court hearing. And then they'll say, don't talk to anybody else in the family. We understand this is embarrassing. They only got one call. They told me to call you. And it happens so quick, and the pressure is on. And as a grandparent, they don't ever want to let their grandkids down. So they say, how much do you need? And they'll say, put $1,000 in an envelope, put it in your mailbox or on your front porch, tell us your address, we'll come pick it up, and then we'll release your grandson or granddaughter.
And we talked about that before. If that's the case, can they call the state police and you guys
Yes, that's how we could kind of set something up. So if they decide they're going to do this and then realize, wait, this is a scam. I've seen this before. This is a scam. Call the police immediately, and hopefully we can catch the people picking this up. But unfortunately, Sam, it doesn't work that way because people think they're doing the right thing to help their family. That's not the situation. If anybody's ever in trouble, they do get a phone call, but they will make the call, not somebody else. And there's a way to bail somebody out when they're in trouble, and it's through a bondsman. It's through the jail. It's not putting money in an envelope out at your front porch. It's not like that. So take a couple seconds, think about it. If it doesn't sound right, trust your instinct, and it's not right.
When I got the call, it was a kid. Grandpa, and I know my grandchildren.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. And I said, you know, I'm in trouble right now. Could you help me out, Bob? And you know, I said, what's going on? And he said, well, he said something happened, and I'm here in jail, and I'll let you talk to this guy, okay? And the guy comes on, I'm trooper, or whatever. And I said, well, wait a minute. So because I know my grandchildren, and it was so I said, wait, this is a scam. Okay, put the kid back on again. Then the kid came back on again. You trying to scam me? Then he got cocky with me. He said, well, why'd you pick the phone? I mean, he got me, you know. So it was that kind of situation. But if people are aware of that, okay, it's, you know, it sounds so simple, but yet you're in the moment, aren't you?
And that's exactly what it is, Sam. You're in the moment, and you might be at home by yourself. Maybe you're a widow, or you're at home by yourself. Nobody lives with you, or maybe nobody else is home at the time. And this all happens so quick. And you know, pressure gets the worst of people sometimes. It really does. And that's one of those. And they put pressure on you. You got to do this now, otherwise we can't help your grandson or granddaughter out. And it's pressure, and they feel bad, and they don't want to talk to anybody else, and they fall victim to it. Now they're out thousands of dollars. So you have to take a second and really think about the situation, or hang the phone up and call your grandson or granddaughter directly. Call your family members and say, hey, I just got this call. Is everything okay? You know, before we go giving away our money, because as we heard in the beginning of the show, billions of dollars are just getting thrown out there to scammers.
And they are so smooth.
They are.
It's not only the grandchildren, there's other scams.
Sure, there's many scams.
Let's talk about some other scams.
There's scams going around right now saying that you owe this amount of money, or the police are going to come pick you up. If you don't pay this, you're going to be arrested. You owe back taxes, or you owe a parking ticket, something like that. There was recently a PennDOT one on the Turnpike, through the Turnpike Commission. I actually got the email myself, and it was on my personal email saying that through our records on PennDOT here, it says that you owe an outstanding amount on your Turnpike toll. And it said, click here. And so they want you to click there. And what it is that's not a real website, or it's going to have some sort of virus that gets attached to your device. They're going to want you to make some sort of payment, and now they have your credit card information. right? And then PennDOT released a statement saying, hey, this is a scam. Scammers will use anything they possibly can. We know around tax season, there's calls. If you don't pay this amount right now, we're going to withhold your income tax check. Law enforcement's going to come and pick you up. There's so many threats out there, and that's what they are. Again, putting pressure on you, threatening you. We're going to come, we're going to shut your power off. We're going to shut your water off. We're not going to give you your income tax check. We're going to come put you in jail. None of that is true. None of it is true, but the pressure gets to people.
How then does one know what to do? Because sometimes, I think I may have received one of those turnpike things, okay? Yeah. And they have the logo, it looks like
sure. Which is easy to replicate.
Yeah.
Very easy.
So what does one do when they get something like that?
Right, so I received that, and
especially if they know you've traveled.
Sure, yeah, and we just got back from a vacation, my family.
Okay.
And we have the turnpike transponder, so what we did was we went onto our account. We went onto our turnpike account, because if you have one of those, you have an account. We logged in, it said balance 0. We didn't owe anything, everything was paid for. So after we checked that, I said, well, this is obviously a scam. And then a couple days later, PennDOT came out with their news release saying about this scam, because a lot of people were contacting PennDOT, which is another good thing. If you don't know how to log onto your account, call PennDOT. Go online, type that in. A lot of times if you get an unknown phone number that calls you, if you type that phone number in on a Google search, people will say it's a scam. So do a little bit of homework into this before you go throwing your money away, because that's what's happening.
And there's different ways that they scam the seniors, okay? In addition to the grandchildren, and you don't have that many seniors maybe who travel a lot. I'm
right.
talking about seniors. What are some of the other hot points where they're getting at seniors?
Distraction burglaries.
Distraction burglaries.
That's a big one. A person will come to your front door. They'll have a hard hat on, maybe they'll have a fluorescent shirt, they'll have some sort of ID card hanging from their neck, and a walkie-talkie. And they'll say, hey, I'm here with the water company, I'm here with the gas company. I was just at your neighbor's house. I just got to check something out real quick with your hot water heater. If you don't mind, I'll be in and out of your hair in 5 minutes, okay? Now, typically in most homes, the hot water heater's in the basement. And so they'll say, why don't you come on down with me so this way you can see what I'm doing. And it all sounds so good. Again, quick and a lot of pressure. And it all sounds so good and they look official. And before they break the threshold of your front door, they'll take that radio out and they'll say, yeah, I'll be inside this house here. And that's cue for their partner to say, I'm in, now it's your turn, come on in. So as you go down to the basement or in the other room with this worker, their partner is coming in and they're taking keys, cell phones, purses, wallets, anything out in the open. And when they're done after a few minutes, they'll radio and say, yeah, we're ready for you to go to that next address. And that's cue to say, hey, I'm out of the house, you could bring the homeowner back up.
What if there's another person in the house? If there's a couple of people in the house?
Well, and that's the thing, right? So these scammers, when they do these distraction burglars, when they go in, if they ask them, hey, are you home alone here? Why don't you come down with me? This way they know, because if not, then they won't radio to their partner. This was my very first investigation as a state trooper back in 2007, was a distraction burglary. And this happens. This is in our area. This is always going to happen. And so think about it, Sam. You're home at your house, and a worker that comes into your home.
Sure.
Do you ever lock that front door behind you? Because most people don't. So that front door's wide open. They're walking right through your unlocked front door. Yeah. This can happen, and it happens quick. And it's very easy to do. I do a presentation on this, okay? And you could go on Amazon today, have everything tomorrow, and for $86, I can look like a utility worker. I can have everything I need. I can have an ID card with my real photo on it, and I can have it say whatever company I want. It's too easy to replicate this stuff. So people say, well, how do I tell? I want to ask to see their ID. Never ask to see their ID. You don't have to open your door for anybody. Unless it's a state trooper or police that has a warrant for your arrest, you're not required to answer the door for anybody. So if somebody comes to your door and they say, I'm with the water company, say, which company? And talk through the locked door, through the window, and then say, I'm going to call that company right now, and do it. Don't just let them in your home. Because again, these people are good talkers. They're good talkers, and once they get in, it's too late, and you may be hours or days before you realize, hey, there's items in my house that are missing. I don't know what happened. For
my friends, I'm talking to Trooper Anthony Petroski. He's the Public Information Officer. I'm going to put a number on the screen. No, my son's going to put a number on the screen. 570-459-3890. You can call him. He'll go out and make presentations. Education, education, education. You'd be surprised that people know these things, but they happen so fast. It happened to me. I almost got ripped off when the person said from Amazon, and I needed to ask a question about Amazon, and I thought it would be a good opportunity boy, I'll tell you when we come back what happened after me saying, okay, well, let me get the other person on the phone, and it's a whole, they're smooth, my friends. We'll be back right after this. Well, welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. Remember, 24/7, you can watch all of our local neighborhood programs on our website, ssptv.com, or our YouTube channel. And remember, I appreciate very much making this show the #1 talk show in northeastern Pennsylvania. We're talking about scamming. If you just tuned in, BARP in 2023 calculated that people over 60 were scammed to the tune of $28.3 billion. Unreported losses in 2022, $137 billion, including $48 billion from older adults. My guest today is Trooper Anthony Petroski. He's the Public Information Officer for the Pennsylvania State Police, and he's available to go and give you an education on scams and whatnot. Tony, the deal with the Amazon, I happen to having a concern about Amazon. It just so happened that Amazon called and they're doing a promotion, and I said, I'm not interested in that, but I do have a question about, you know, certain things we have, and well, they moved me to another person, and so they said, what's your name? And I said, and oh, you know, Mr. Lesante, you have a problem here. There's fraud. You know, there's fraud on your thing, you know, and they went through this thing, and so I'm going through this now. You have an app, yeah, and then, you know, you better take your bank thing off you. And I'm going through that until I said, well, you know, we're on cable. I said, well, I know Mr. Trentley, Tim Trentley, very well. I said, well, is Tim there? I'd like to talk to Tim. Well, then they gave me the address, but they didn't know anything. Right. And I knew it was a scam. But thank God I didn't go any further. But they're so smooth.
They are smooth. They are smooth. Think about it. They're making hundreds of calls a day. They're saying the same thing. That they're doing their homework on this prior to calling. So this way, if the person asks questions like you did, they have some answers. You know, and again, it's not. They're not going to get everybody. They're not, but they're going to get a few. You know, and those numbers don't lie. They're obviously, these scams are working, and we don't have a solution to stop this. Okay, we don't.
That's the sad part.
The best thing we could do is educate ourselves by doing shows like this, by me getting out there doing presentations in the community. It's the best thing we could do, so we could recognize it in the beginning, hang up, and move on with our day.
Just like you said, rule of thumb is, you know, when you don't know the number, don't answer it if you have caller ID. If you don't, and you listen to it and hear like a little blurp, you know, hang up, you know it's a scam.
It's a scam.
And because they get you. The other thing we're talking about, not necessarily a scam, but you brought up something about cars.
Yes. So in the area here, Lower Luzerne County, Schuylkill County, Upper Luzerne County, there's a lot of thefts from vehicles happening, okay? And what do I mean by that? I mean, people are leaving items, valuables, out in the open in their cars, okay? They may lock their cars, they may not, but they're broadcasting to people, look what I have in my car. Like, I'm just running into the gas station real quick. I'm gonna leave my cell phone on the center console here. People want cell phones. Cell phones sell on the streets, they're worth money. People leave their purses. People leave shopping bags on the back seats of their car, right? So you're broadcasting, hey, I have all of this stuff, and people are breaking into them. They're trying the door handles first. If they're unlocked, they'll go in. They'll take anything they can. If they're locked and they see something in there worth value, they may attempt to break into that car. So the best thing you could do is not keep it out in the open, okay? Every car has a trunk. So if you're gonna be shopping, put those bags in the trunk so it's not visible. If something isn't there, if somebody doesn't see something, it doesn't exist, right? Every SUV has the hatch in the back. So you could put things back there. I always tell people, keep a blanket in the back there.
Yeah, we do.
You put bags in the back, throw the blanket over it. This way, you're not advertising I have all of these valuables, you know, Christmas time, it's a big one, electronics, things like that. People know they're gonna, you know, that there's going to be people out there shopping. A lot of people shop online, but there's still people who go to stores and shop. That still exists. And so broadcasting these things in your car, leaving them out in the open, not a good idea. Don't entice somebody to want to get in your vehicle.
Well, I think if they're doing that, they have to work as a team.
Sure.
Because one has to see if they're coming, you know, if someone's coming.
Yeah, there can always be a lookout.
Yeah.
You know, but think about it, Sam, though. If the doors are unlocked, That's easy.
It's easy.
Because if you're a stranger on the street, you may think, oh, well, they're just going into their car to get something.
Exactly, yeah.
Right? So again, very simple. Lock your cars. It doesn't matter to me if you're going into a store for an hour or a minute. Lock your car doors. If you're not right next to it, it should be locked.
It happens so fast.
So fast.
It's amazing.
And can you imagine in today's day and age, everything that we have on our cell phones, if you come back to your car and your cell phone's stolen, how do you even call 911 at that point? You know, so like we can avoid this. Lock your cars, even if they're in your driveways or outside of your house overnight, lock your cars.
What are the most amount of calls you're getting for scams? What scams are you getting the most amount of calls for?
Scams?
Yeah.
A lot of them are the grandparent scams, the loved one scam. That's the one that we see the most because it's so easy to do and it happens so quick. And we've had those scams in this area where people put money in an envelope, put it in their mailbox, and a courier came and picked it up. So that happened in this area. So, you know, for us to say, no, that doesn't happen here in northeastern Pennsylvania, we're wrong. It does happen. There's a lot of email scams that go out, you know, regarding banks and, you know, healthcare, things like that. Hey, click here. There's a problem with your account. Call this number. If you get those, call that company directly. Don't call the number you got in the email. Because, of course, they're going to answer with, yes, I'm from this bank. Call that bank directly. Call that medical facility directly. Don't call what's in the email. There's a lot of texting scams too, right? Because texting and emails, they can make you click on links that take you to what you believe to be is a legitimate website. If you get a text from a number you don't know, don't ever click on a link inside of it. A link meaning you click on the little, it's blue, it's underlined, you click on it and it takes you to a website. Don't click on them. It's a scam.
Another scam that we talked about was a sweetheart scam.
Sweetheart swindle.
I mean,
yeah.
that's a little process.
It is.
But if it works for them, they do very well.
It does work because you could say you're anybody in the world when you're just communicating with somebody through an app or a texting app, right? You could say whoever you are. You could take a picture off of the internet and say, this is me, when really it's not. In the sweetheart swindle, a lot of people, younger people and senior citizens, are using these dating apps. They might they might be a widow, they might be alone, so they're just looking to connect with somebody. And scammers know this, so they'll go on and they'll use the grooming process. They'll tell them, you know, hey, everything's so great, and it'll be conversations every single day. And then it'll go 3 or 4 or 5 days with no conversation. Then they'll send them an email and say, I'm sorry, you know, I lost my job. I'm trying to make ends meet. I'm really financially struggling here. And so now the victim thinks, oh, well, this is my friend, even though I've never met this person. You know, we're soulmates. We're going to meet, this and that. Hey, I'll help you out. No, you don't have to. Yeah, let me send you some money. And there they are. They're getting scammed.
Oh, my God.
And then that account is deleted the next day, and the scammer's going to create a new account and scam somebody else. It happens so quick. Don't let your guard down.
What happened to getting a job, my friends? Getting a job and earning your living the right way. Talking to Trooper Anthony Petroski. He is the Public Information Officer at Pennsylvania State Police. They're your friends, my friend, the Pennsylvania State Police. They're your friends. We come back, we'll talk, wrap it up. Thank you for joining us, my friends. I'm Sam Lesante, and if you just tuned in, it's a very interesting show. It's about scamming. Billions of dollars are scammed each year. My guest today is Trooper Anthony Petroski, who is a public information officer. The phone number you want to call, he's available for presentations and educate, 570-459-3890. I wonder how many people you've saved thousands of dollars when you were out giving these talks and, you know, they remember that they tell their neighbors or their friends, etc.
I hope so, right? I mean, that's how we can battle these scams because, again, they're not going anywhere. It's not like we could just shut it down, you know, a certain way. So that's the best way that we, the Pennsylvania State Police, can get information out there so people don't become victims. So, you know, doing shows like this, doing presentations, and like you just said, word of mouth. So that's the best way that we can battle it.
Yeah. You would only hope that there would be some way that you'd be able to get them, you know.
I know.
And that would be great, you know. And
it would be. And, you know, there are ways through investigation. Again, they're not always easy, but there's so many of these scammers out there, you know. There's so many. You take one out, there's still thousands more.
In closing, what words of advice do you give my viewers?
Don't let your guard down. If it sounds like it's not right, trust your instinct. You know, trust your instinct. Don't just give your money away. Contact your loved ones if you think something's wrong and you're not 100% sure. Contact them or simply talk this over with somebody. Hey, I just got this phone call. This is what happened. Sometimes when you say it out loud, you think, wait a second, that's a scam. Like, what am I doing? You know, but sometimes when you say it out loud, you just realize it's a scam. Don't ever let your guard down, okay? Don't let just anybody in your house. If there's somebody on your property, you feel nervous or scared, they're saying they're with a company, you know they're not, call 911. We will come and we will handle that. Maybe you won't become a victim to them, but your neighbors might. So call 911. Don't just let them go and say, you know what, you didn't get me, because they might get your neighbors. Do the right thing. Call us. We'll come. We'll take a look. And if we can, we will arrest them.
When you're doing these presentations, you present all this stuff, you know,
Yes.
to them, and it's just education, education, education.
It is, and every time I do a scams presentation, somebody comes up to me afterwards and says, I'm being scammed. But it takes them to see it. Yeah. And you know what? We talk them through and we'll help them out.
We do these shows. I have the same thing.
Sure.
We were at the Laurel Mall, and you know, Sam, you had Petroski on, and guess what? You know, I was one of those people.
Right.
You know, and sometimes even me. You know, I mean, I think I'm semi-intelligent, but you know, so I don't have to tell you. My son and daughter said after I was come down and help me.
Yeah.
I think I made a boo-boo. Daddy, what did you do? You better, see, you know, so it's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Tony, it's always nice to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Keep the good work. You guys do great work.
Thank you.
You know, people don't realize sometimes what a Pennsylvania state trooper does, and any police officer,
Right.
their lives is at stake every day.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's one of those things, and we applaud you for that.
Thank you. Appreciate the support.
All the people in law enforcement. My friends, it's 459-3890-570. Give them a call, set up a presentation. You'd be more than happy to do that. We'll see you next time.